spoke to Eddie about his young days growing up in Inistioge, his early interest in hurling and his progression through the ranks to the Kilkenny senior hurling team. You were part of the All-Stars here on a few occasions, and of course you had the great honour of going abroad to America. San Francisco was a great place back in the early 70s.
Fantastic. Like, we had been to New York, but to go to the west coast of America and all, we had heard and read about the west coast, and you'll be familiar from country music and everything from that area. But San Francisco was huge, and we went there, the All-Star team, and it was against Tipperary that year. We played a couple of games against Tipperary, who were All-Ireland champions from '71. So that was a great trip, and a number of us stayed. That time we stayed with families, and a number of us stayed with Justin McCarthy's sister Justin from Cork. His sister was Una Eddie Keher. She was married to John Ettinger, and we stayed in their house, and it was a great experience for us. And then they brought us all over the place, of course, visited all the great places in the West Coast.
So real glamour attached to the All-Stars going to the west coast of America back then.
Huge, you know, it was a huge thing for us because it was the first big sponsorship, I suppose, of a GAA competition, which was that time sponsored by Carroll's.
It was ushering in a new era into GAA in many ways, wasn't it?
It was. Sponsorship started to become part of the GAA, and more money, I suppose, came into it, and more benefits for the players. So, like, it was a change in times, I suppose, but, you know, very beneficial for them.
And for those of us back home who wanted to read about it because they didn't have the same television exposure, you had those fabulous, iconic writers, really, like David Guiney and Paddy Downey of the Irish Times, and
Mick Dunn, John D. Hickey,
yeah,
you know, all those, Raymond Smith.
Raymond Smith did a massive job in chronicling the hurling statistics. Brilliant writer. Yeah,
he was the first, I'd say, I think with a number of other writers, he compiled, you know, the records of Gaelic games and all the matches back, and it's still a great reference point when you want to look up statistics from way back. There's all their teams going back to the beginning of the GAA and scores and matches and all that. That's great. And of course, he launched books as well about the championship over the years, apart from being a brilliant writer in the Irish Independent at the time.
1972, one of the hurling greats meets one of the boxing greats.
Well, I did have the pleasure in 1972 of meeting the great Muhammad Ali. I suppose it's one of the highlights of my career, in that I had the pleasure, because I was a huge fan of Muhammad Ali over the years. We used to get up, at that time there was no television as such, and listen to the fights, particularly the early ones with Sonny Liston, and when he won his World Championship. So in 1972, as I think there was a documentary done recently of the visit by Muhammad Ali to fight Al Blue Lewis in Croke Park. I think ticket sales were slow, and they were trying to promote the event in some way, and we were going to be in the All-Ireland in that year, 1972. They asked me to go out and bring a hurl out to where Muhammad was in his hotel. So I was sitting in the hotel talking to some of the lads, including his famous coach, and waiting for the man to come in. And he came in, and, you know, you'll be in awe meeting your hero. And but he was very quiet. I found him very quiet. Not the guy that we knew on television. He said, "I've seen that game on television." He said, "That's a very tough game," he said. And I was looking at him, thinking of him getting into the ring with Sonny Liston and that, about toughness. So anyway, we went out then to the press to do the sort of promotional thing, and I had a hurl for him, and I was trying to show him how to rise the ball and do a few things. And after a while he came over to me, and he said, whispered to me, "Put on a show for these lads now." And he then became the Muhammad Ali that we knew, you know, the showman. And he was brilliant. He started trying to hit me with the hurl, you know, as if for fencing. And I have some very good shots, photos of the day. But it was a great day and a great honour for me to meet him. Great character. Yeah.
So those were great years, and of course as the 70s moved on, you were Kilkenny still doing the biz, still winning. You were coming toward the end of your hurling career at that stage, Eddie.
Yeah, well, I finished in we won the All-Ireland in 75 against Galway, and then I had 2 more years at inter-county level in that era. Wexford broke through then in 76 and 77, and were unfortunate not to win the All-Ireland, certainly in 76, but my career finished in 77 after that year.
Yeah. Had you your mind made up coming towards 77 that was more or less the end of distinguished hurling career?
It's very hard to say when you decide, but I do remember in that year I was fairly tired after the year, and then we played James Stephens in the final and were beaten in the final, and it just felt drained at that stage. So the league was starting straight away after that, and I just didn't have the energy to go on, so I told him at that stage I wanted to step down, which I did do.
Your own family, Eddie, you're married to Kay?
Yeah, Kay was from Gordon in Kilkenny here, and we met in Dublin actually, and I have 5 children and 12 grandchildren. My eldest boy is in Australia, married to an Australian girl. They have 2 children, and Claude is in Dublin, 4 children. Colin is in Callan with 4 children. Deirdre's here in the Roar with 2 children, and the youngest Catherine is an art teacher in Clonmel.
So the Australians are beginning to follow hurling as well, aren't they? Especially Kilkenny hurling.
Oh, they are in a big way. They're all home for the All-Ireland this year, which was great for them that we won, and they really enjoyed. And they're too young. There's age 5 and 8. They were able to join in the celebrations and the homecoming and the match, of course. So we were delighted that worked out for them this year.
Another aspect of your life has been involved with the formation of the No Name Club, which was launched in Kilkenny.
Yeah, a few of us got together. We looked at the scene at the time. Of course, it's even got worse now. But at the time, we saw the move for young people to go to public houses to drink and stuff. And I remember we asking young people at the time, why are you going, is there not other place to go? And they said, no, there's no other place to go. So we were sort of challenged to provide somewhere for it to go. So some friends of mine, Father Tom Murphy, Eamon Doyle and Bobby Kerr, who was managing director and owner of the New Park Hotel, the father of the present Bobby, who was known from Dragon's Den. So we got together and put together a package, and we ran events, and very strong part of the package is that we involved young people in the running of the club, whom we called hosts and hostesses. And that was really just Kilkenny we're thinking of, and it became hugely successful, and we trained a new group of people every year to become and to develop their personalities and everything, and run the club for us with our supervision, I suppose.
Yeah, excellent. I know you've travelled the country to speak at functions in every county, probably.
Yeah, we did in the initial stage when we were trying to get clubs to start up or help people to start up their clubs all over, and then we got so many great people involved in the No Name Club over the years that helped and made huge strides with the development of the organisation right throughout the country, from Donegal to Kerry and across the whole place. And of course they're very strong in the west, in your own area over on Claremorris and all that area, Montbellew and Galway, and all those clubs are wonderful clubs, made huge contributions to the organisation.
Well done, Eddie. Very noble ethos to that, to the No Name Club. So of course in the last 20 years, so it's been amazing time, the Brian Cody era, let's call it that.
Yeah, sure, it's phenomenal. I mean, no county has achieved what Kilkenny have achieved in the last 15 or 16 or 17 years under Brian Cody. It's been phenomenal. 11 All-Ireland wins. It's just like people said back in the 90s that no one would ever win 2 in a row in the modern era. And look at the success and all the great players that have played from 2000 right up to the present day.
And what is so special about this Kilkenny passion? It's amazing.
if you walk or drive through any town or village or Kilkenny city, everyone is carrying a hurl, as we say it, and the girls are carrying hurls as well, and the boys are chatting up the girls, poking the ball to one another. You see them there at St. Kieran's College in Loretta or presentation, at breaks, they're chatting them up and playing hurling, they're always tipping the ball around. So I suppose it was always a passion here in Kilkenny, but with that great success in the last decade and a half or so, has brought further passion, and the young people just want to play hurling. That's all they want to do.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you still love to sing Lovely Molly, the Rose of Moonkai.
Yeah, well, we sort of reserve that for All Ireland hopeful wins. I know people say we're greedy, but I think when we're going well, and I think Kilkenny have raised the bar again over that period of hurling, and hurling was never stronger than it is at the moment. So we always want to sing the Rose of Moonkai in September.
It's very much your anthem.
Yes, it is. It is, yeah.
And do you see the future has been bright for hurling, Eddie SB?
I do. I know people are fed up with Kilkenny winning, but it's still. There's 5 or 6 teams that could easily topple Kilkenny, and I think Kilkenny have helped to raise the standard to a real high level now, and I think that is a benefit to hurling. And as soon as the Waterfords and the Tipperary, Cork, Galway break through, they'll find another way of doing it and raise the bar even further.